I love YouTube's programming. I get 20% likes on every video I produce. I've seen higher ratings on the same videos on other channels, but YouTube has mine set to 20%. Every time I put up a video, I know 1/5 of the viewers will like it and there will be one thumbs down, which I figure is some content check algorithm they're running. Sometimes I'll get more thumbs downs when I put up information that goes against the accepted white hat narrative, and that is viewers doing that. So I keep telling you, if you don't like what we're saying, go follow someone else. Why bother with us, then? As Ashtar explained in yesterday's video, there are many reasons why the pundits have been incorrect. They might stick to reporting what has happened rather than trying to predict what will happen, because there are so many variables right now and we don't have enough intel to make accurate predictions. Ants know a lot more than the star seeds on Earth do, and that's the reason you still have amnesia, by the way. At night time when you work with the GFL, you are totally informed as to what's going on, but in the daytime you can't know the whole truth because you're playing your Earthling role, we'll just say, or doing your job on Earth, which means, you're flying blind for the most part, as usual. You will not be shown if it's not for you to see. It's as simple as that. Some people have more advanced intel, that's because it's their job to tell us. Like David W. Those who get a lot of intel have the integrity to use that light wisely, that's another fact. The other thing, if it's just one or two nitpicky things you don't like about our messages, then you're focused on the negative when you thumb the whole video down. Because you're not seeing the positive 95% in the video. Folks, I'm trying to get you to think for yourselves, not to follow the narrative, anybody's narrative. If you can't appreciate that, then there are plenty of pundits spooning out acceptable 4D dialogue you can follow, and they're all trying to make you more comfortable with what's going on. I've heard all of it, and I'm not comfortable with what's going on. I want them to do better, but doubt they can for their own selfish reasons. Don't expect me to stick with it when I don't agree with all of it. Same as my website, page views are always 2.6 per viewer, average. It's been that way for years. It's just further proof to me how they want to use technology to run your mind. I know these ratings are BS. I know the views are higher than they state, and there are more people on my website than I'm told. At least there would be some variation, some days more, some days less, but there never is. Not for years. The numbers have been in the same zone for years, hardly ever varying. For once, can we just live in an honest world? Just even for a day. Stop with the lies already. Why did they even create April Fool's Day? Every day is a joke when you're constantly confronted by lies. When you get to the point that I am where you hardly believe anything anymore, it's not much fun. I can only imagine the shock many people will go through as they wake up. The only thing that's real is love. That's the only thing. You're not allowed to be angry. When I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to be angry. I fumed in silence most of the time as a teenager because I was aware enough not to blame myself for what was being done to me. And I still have that pattern that needs to be broken. I have to let myself get angry because I still suppress my anger sometimes. It's not a very pleasant emotion, but it has to be felt. More of me is hidden behind this broken heart. The shadow must come out and new ways of dealing with anger have to be learned. I believe the Matrix works the same way. They want compliance, but they fear our anger and retaliation. They know that manipulating our consciousness is the only way they can survive, so they fear any sign that we won't accept what they're doing to us. So they teach us to repress our anger. Have you heard this yet? Being angry is not very spiritual. This is the same abuse as my father meted out. So many times I hear the supposed spiritual people telling others not to feel emotions. We are an emotionally repressed society, this Western world, and so many are interpreting spirituality from an unconscious perspective. When someone protests your anger, they're telling you to change because they're not comfortable with it, and it's only a manipulation attempt. I find it certainly a sign you're going through ascension. Change brings us discomfort. I've had to change, like I said in another video, from my comfort zone, or at least that which was familiar to me of being abused by two narcissists to being loved by a very unconditionally loving man. You might not think that that's so bad, but it has required me to change a lot and I expect more will be necessary still. Changing usually brings with it discomfort. Anger is the portal to change. Spirituality doesn't exclude anger. Being spiritual is what you do with that anger. Being spiritual means you don't attack other people, you work through it and diffuse it, using the anger to understand yourself better. You use your anger to your advantage because it's telling you when your limits have been reached or where change is necessary. I got angry over the person who went to a pundit with Ivo's message about clones. Why are clones not treatable in the American courts? Because the Constitution is based on God's law and only God's people are subject to these laws, clearly, as if you haven't figured that out yet. The DS don't consider themselves to be bound by constitutional law. They have their own system and they're above ours. Why? Because they think they're gods and the people they clone are their servants, not God's servants. We are God's servants because we're on the soul matrix. The people who create clones are the ones who seek to usurp God's power in the universe. By trying a clone in an American court, you would be acknowledging their supposed godliness. They are not gods and try as they may, the dark ones cannot create real life. They can only mimic it. Clones are only treatable in galactic court as the abomination of God's law that they are. I'm not making this up, folks. I'm channeling it. I don't make the rules, I only report my findings. I'm having a strong suspicion that we won't be seeing any clone trials, only the real humans. Think about this at a global level for a moment. Why would there be such a prejudice against anger? Because when people get angry, they start protesting, looting, shooting, and speaking up. Who doesn't want any of these things to happen? The DS doesn't. They want you to remain mind-controlled sheep. Being angry is you coming out of mind control, folks. Believe me, I did a lot of that. Obviously I'm not condoning going around damaging, pillaging, and fighting, of course not. You can be angry and learn how to deal with it constructively, even use it to become more aware. I believe that being told to sit back and eat popcorn and wait, while Agenda 2030 is progressing, is patronizing to say the least. It's unfortunate that people have to die to show others the reality of this world. The reality that those in charge don't care. And has anyone tried to stop V rollouts? No. Some have been pulled, I suppose temporarily because one unfortunate side effect seems to be death, but they're not stopping Agenda 2030. I believe it's up to us, the people, to do so. We're told by those in charge to trust the plan, while people are dying. That doesn't sound like such a great plan to me. I know. I discuss this with my ETS and they say that there will be problems although they try to find the path of least harm for us. Why not? Yes, I'm angry. It needs to be stopped. Those of us who are way ahead of the game on all of this, are tapping our feet impatiently waiting for others to wake up so we can stop this as a collective. Ivo, the road to awareness is paved with anger, my love. It is part of the range of emotions, and one coming from a state of shame, guilt, or unhappiness will have to cross paths with anger before they can find reason and wisdom. It is part of the process of grieving, as noted in your psychology as well. It is a valid state of being, however it is not recommended that you live in that state. When you become angry, it is always prudent to understand why, even a basic understanding. Is it that you have lost control? Because that is what makes many people angry. For example, Sheran woke up this morning to people moving into the apartment next door. She learned that her landlord's brother is moving in and he will be doing work on the apartment. Right now she can hear a bandsaw in the yard next to her apartment, and Sheran is noise sensitive. Yes, there are people who are sensitive to noise. Noise is sound and sounds that are of two differing frequency grate on the nerves of someone sensitive to energy. The same goes for smells, visuals, and tastes. It is all energy, and some are so high up that the lower states produced by the low conscious ones on your planet get on the nerves of those of higher frequency. This is why you have some people who can sleep through anything and others who awake at the drop of a pin. Sheran is the latter, except for thunderstorms, which are electromagnetic exchanges between the earth and the ethers. She enjoys this exchange of higher energies. The clearing of the atmospheric ions by the accompanying rainstorm can often cheer Sheran up enormously as well, leading to better sleep. Me, I love them. We never get thunderstorms anymore, not like when we were kids. Oh yeah, speaking of visuals, I've got to tell you guys what I saw last night. I was lying in bed, half on my stomach, when I caught a completely dark baseball-sized blob appear and spin in slow spirals to right above my bed. I asked Ivo and he said not to worry about it, presumably he was dealing with it. When I woke up an hour later, I heard a grunt. It wasn't me and it wasn't the cat. I called Archangel Michael and he told me, Reptilians, and that was the last of it. They're back again. They just love me. And I keep shooting down their ships. Ivo, yes. I was hoping you would forget this experience, but you never do. Me, no, I forgot to change my clock and worked on a 1-hour deficit for 2 days this week. Those things I forget because they're not important to me. Ivo, you understand that sound is now being explored for its healing properties. Well, in the same token, sounds can be very unhealing. That is why your music is recorded at a frequency that is chaotic to your ears. The God frequency is 432 Hz, the standard tuning for your instruments is 440 Hz. Sheran might do well to deal with her stress and depression by listening to quiet music recorded at 432 Hz. Me, point taken. Thank you. Ivo, the landlord had a look at her apartment and realized that Merlin had put his dirty feet on the side of the building as he slid out of the window. He asked Sheran to stop this practice and to clean the window. Now Merlin must be let out of the front door, and as summer approaches this will be day and night. Sheran and I came up with a compromise to suggest to the landlord, and that is a screen door be installed with a cat flap, although Sheran may be spending summer nights with her front door open, and this is another problem that presents itself. Merlin may well be spending much of the night outside, but in summer that is not so much of a problem. Sheran is upset because at the moment she has little resistance to stress. But things will work out as they always will. Sheran is upset because she cannot have things her way. Me, what do I pay rent for? Ivo, he still owns the building. Me, he actually thinks this place looks good. It doesn't. It's one of the crummiest buildings on the street. The guy is delusional. Ivo, that is his problem, my love. He still insists that you do not let your cat harm his property, and he has the right to ask this of you. You will not always get your way because you may be asked to respect the rights of others, and this is life. You cannot always have control, and if this is what is making you angry, then this is your ego. Your soul does not control. You did the right thing, my love, but things will work out. As we keep telling you, you will not be here for much longer. Me, thank God. Ivo, you must release wanting to have control all the time. You must compromise with others at times, whether you see it their way or not. Anger can sometimes be inappropriate. If it is to control others, that is inappropriate. Me, I've had enough going on lately with this so-called community turning on me the way they are. Ivo, yes, it is unfortunate that they do not discuss their misgivings with you face to face. I believe this is cowardice on their part. But you must let go of the resentment. Me, yes, again, the feeling that Earth is not my planet, even within the spiritual community and the disclosure community, I still am a radical. Are they not in touch with their souls enough to be able to understand that not everyone will do things their way, or that they could be wrong from time to time? Ivo, you see their egos, and that is what you have been dealing with. Their shadow sides. Many people also have what you call mother issues that they project onto matronly older women like yourself. Me, yes, I realized that when I was in the 12 steps, I was in a particularly unfortunate position with many of them. I was being drawn into situations the nature of which even surprised me because they had nothing to do with me. Ivo, that is projection. They wish to draw you into a disagreement in order to help clear their shadow, but it is not your job to do so. The shadow can be cleared by oneself, if they have the desire to look honestly at themselves. The ego will always try to prevent this in order that you create lush. There are many men within your community as well, that do not enjoy giving the lead to a woman. You must take that into account also. A woman who has access to more information than they do is a threat to their domination of the community. Many of these men work with a network of other men who do not challenge them and who allow them to be the alpha, and have a bevy of women at hand to supply them with information they require to provide to their followers. I might point out that this is the same as the corporate structure of many of your big businesses. You must understand how they work this. Sheran, you are also very open-mouthed about your understanding of their intentions, which does not make you any less of a threat to their egos. There are other women who work alone. Carrie Cassidy is another such woman who is very strong in her work and uncompromisable, and she has been criticized by the community as well. Me, tough. And I like Carrie Cassidy's work, however I don't differentiate between male and female, all intel is good. Like I keep saying, we're changing to becoming more spiritual because so many are just building their practice on what their ego is telling them to do and then blinding them to its presence. I don't need anyone to work with because I come up with enough to share with people, daily, and add value to their lives. Ivo, this is one thing you have to understand about these men. Me, tough for them. I have no sympathy. They need to get over their need to dominate. Ivo, and we understand that you appreciate us even more so for that reason. We work together with Sheran as a team, and we do not prejudice against her for being female. Me, no, they don't. We're all equals. I sense no prejudice at all. By the way, there are men in the community I would work with. I'm not trashing all of them, just the ones I suspect have domination and control issues. Ivo, be willing to understand when you have the desire to control and strive for compromise. People do not appreciate others trying to control them. Me, no, they don't. Ivo, and they appreciate when someone suggests a compromise that is mutually beneficial and takes all issues into account. Whether you believe the person is incorrect or not, it does not matter. If you need to compromise with another, understand that your ego is being controlling. Becoming spiritual is not a matter of never being angry, it is a matter of how you handle that anger, and Sheran passed the test today, with flying colors. Me, the other thing about anger, is often it's used to hide a feeling of vulnerability or helplessness. People who have suffered abuse often react that way. But the best thing to do is to allow yourself to feel it and understand you're never helpless. Never. Ivo, correct, my love. You feel helpless when you are attacked by the pundits of your community, because you will not attack them back. Me, I could start a conversation with them and ask them to explain why they believe what they believe. I suppose if I cared that much, but I don't. Ivo, you could. There are many options that you can use not to feel helpless when you are attacked, and your best option is always to love your attacker. This keeps you at a high frequency, and you lose nothing when you are attacked, rather you gain in self-love. Me, true. Thanks, Ivo. You're always supporting me. I appreciate that. Now give me the money so I can get that house. Ivo, LOL, in its time, my love. In its time.